Welcome to the Franchise Woman Podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles. I have two very special guests here. Maddie Wofford. She is the founder of Beheld Beauty Collective, and she is definitely passionate about beauty and entrepreneurship. It all began as a simple request to assist with hairstyling for a few weddings and quickly evolved into a thriving business due to referrals and word of mouth. Maddie jumped into action by building and training a team of senior stylists. And today, Beheld Collective receives inquiries from over 1,000 brides a year for her services and her team services. Joining us also is her mentor and dad, David Pierce. David is a corporate executive with decades of coaching, management, and serial entrepreneurship experience. David has 3 decades of buying, selling, and running companies. David is guiding Maddie and Beheld Beauty Collective and the franchise owners coming on board through that complex process of setting up their businesses and operating them effectively. What a duo the two of you are. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Oh my gosh, I was so excited when I got to talk to you guys 3 or 4 weeks ago or whenever it was. I'm like, we gotta have you on the show. Such a wonderful duo. So Maddie, my first question for you is around you're a young entrepreneur. You had this incredible idea for Beheld Beauty Collective. Tell us if you had a message to other women, other entrepreneurs, others folks considering business ownership, what would what would that message be?
Yeah. Yeah, I started Beheld technically when I was 24, I think, so pretty young. And jumped into it because for one, I was finding a passion that, maybe I thought at one point was a hobby and was starting to become a business, and it happened pretty organically. But what I found along the way is just that entrepreneurship for me and a passion to build a team of women now around me really came because I just believe in the power of risk taking. And I think honestly for me, when I first began doing Beheld, like I just fell in love with business and with the beauty industry, with the wedding industry. And I think for me, it really was what inspired me to scale or to grow really wasn't money. It was like empowering women to do what they love with the skills that they have and building legacy and create possibilities for them. There was like, for me, it was like this big open canvas, and how can we build it, paint it, and create it so that so many women now on my team get to do this and get to do what they love because of the structures and systems and organization that we created. So I've always, pre-Beheld and now in Beheld and now entering a new season of franchising, it has always been a passion for me to empower women, to help them see who they really are and the potential and possibilities within them, and then, equip them to actually do the work that it takes to, whether it's putting their hands to skills like hair, makeup, or, being a mom or, living their lives. What does it look like to lead as a woman? And that's been part of my life probably since I was maybe 17, when I was sort of waking up to those callings and giftings in my life.
So in our conversation, our last conversation, this creating Beheld Beauty Collective was after you lost a job as a waitress. So tell us that story, because
So funny.
we're on one track and all of a sudden God takes us to a different track. So tell us
Right.
something.
Yeah. So there's a couple things going on. I was hostessing at a restaurant in college, and it was just very much like my side gig to get some money. I was also anticipating graduating in just a few weeks. And then I get out of the blue phone call from my longtime hairstylist asking me if I would help assist her with weddings. So there was kind of a collision of things happening. I had planned to graduate college and go on staff at a campus ministry at my big state university that I went to, and I did do that. I went there for several years and worked, but alongside that was launching what now is Beheld Beauty Collective. And so I had this side hustle gig because my longtime hairstylist, truly out of the blue, picked up the phone, called me, and said, I had a stylist recently, can't or quit, the salon that she owned and operated. And you've always been good at hair. All my other stylists are booked for the whole summer because, weddings people book out so far in advance. And she said, you've always been good at hair. Come do a wedding with me in 3 days. And I was like, are you calling the right person, Hallie? I'm so confused. And she like laughed and she said, oh, you'll be great, which is actually hilarious now looking back because I would never send a stylist out like that. So she really had a lot of trust in me. And then, yeah, so I spent that summer working with her and fell in love with it. And it again was kind of like this catalytic moment where there were a lot of shifting pieces and it felt like, okay, I really love doing this. Hallie's on her way out because she had a 4-year-old at the time, was ready to like be able to be home because we primarily work on Saturday mornings for weddings. And she also owned a salon. So she's working 9 to 5 or whatever her hours were during the week. And then that on Saturday. So she was just like, Maddie, go for it. Just blessed me and said, on your way. And so, yeah, I just started honestly side hustling it a little bit, but even then I was kind of, post grad asking lots of questions about the future and I didn't want to make the wrong decision. There's some anxiety around what am I supposed to do with my life after graduation. And so I just really took an organic approach and was like, I'm going to see what organically and naturally happens here. And so I actually didn't start any marketing, campaigns or social media accounts for several months. And by the end of that calendar year, I had 30 weddings booked, all word of mouth. And so I was
Yes.
like, okay, this seems to be happening. And then I called my dad over here and brought him into the
You know
process.
what, Dad?
Yeah. So anyways, that's
It's
kind of how it started.
this is such a wonderful story because again, our show was about how passion and purpose collide,
Right.
and it's exactly what happened. You were in a place in your life where you're asking questions, what's my future supposed to be? What am I
Yeah.
supposed to be doing? And then this crazy phone call comes that you would never make and I would never make, but
Yep.
she believed in you and trusted in you. And then that took you off in a direction.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, David, talk to us about that. When Maddie decided this is the direction I'm going to go, and she's got this campus ministry and all this talent. What were your first thoughts on it?
Are you crazy?
Yeah, I think I would too.
No, it was exciting for me. I was probably beginning to really get deep into business coaching out of my professional career at that point in time. And I was beginning to see that, if you find something you're passionate about, you're living in your strength, and you need to pursue those things. So many of us get trapped in jobs that aren't our passion, but then we're stuck because we got bills to pay and mortgages to pay and kids to support. And before you know it, we're 50 and we've never done anything we wanted to do. So I was excited to find something at an early age that I thought could be something that she could be very passionate about and successful. So I was excited about it. She just has all kinds of energy, and I didn't know anything about the wedding business, obviously, but I could tell in her voice. And when she did a lot of things for people we knew, and we always got great response. And man, Maddie did such a great job. So we had very positive feedback already about it. So I was all thumbs up, 100% in, and told her I do whatever I do to help her.
I have to add this in too. My husband always laughs. So, me and my dad are in business. My brother's in business. Like now my sister's in business too, in the medical world, but in a business now stage. But my husband would just laugh because we go on family vacation and we had sticky notes all over the walls, like planning out the next 5 years for
Yeah.
Beheld. And he'd just be like, I'm going to the beach. You guys are crazy. We can't keep you held down. And it was just funny. So I mean, just to add in, like my dad and my brother have been so supportive, and my mom and sister too, but in a different way, so supportive of me from the beginning, brainstorming, thought partnering, thinking about how we're scaling, what are our bottlenecks, what are the things, so they were in the machine with me, no doubt. And even on family vacation when it's beautiful beach outside and we're sticky noting the wall. So yeah, I'm so grateful because my dad especially and my parents have always been supportive of unconventional decisions when it comes to business. So
I love this story and how the family gathered around you and supported you in this. So it's really interesting to me. You have this leadership quality about you, Maddie, that I find fascinating, especially considering how young you are and how you've built this business. So to David, to your dad, um, do you think she was just born with this leadership quality? Tell me more about that.
She definitely was born with something. She would corner us in the basement and make us watch 2-hour shows she would put on with her dance routines and things. So she'd always liked being in the spotlight and directing things. So yeah, I believe leadership there is a born element, but I think there's a developmental element too. And I think Maddie, over the course of her life, has always embraced opportunities to step out. And that's really the only place you grow is outside your comfort zone. And she pretty much lives outside of the comfort zone. And I think that's evident in the way she's been successful in all these ventures. So yeah, I do see it. I saw it in her early, but I think it's matured and gotten only stronger by her efforts and intentionality about it as well.
What are your thoughts, Maddie? What has made you into a great leader?
yeah. Well, I'll start by saying, I'm 32 and very much still learning how to be a great leader. But I think, yeah, I think from a young age and really, I think at about 17, developmentally things start clicking and you're just a little more aware of who you are, probably better self-awareness. I feel like the ages like 11 to 17, it's a really insecure time for kids and for young women. And I think in those years it was a wash, in some ways, because you're worried about what everyone else thinks and you're letting everyone else form who you are. And you don't have necessarily like an inner constitution about who you are at that point. But when I was 17, had a pretty like life-changing moment that really opened my eyes to my value, my worth. And I feel like just set me on a course of like hearing the things, my dad just said, and some of maybe the innate things and cultivated things beginning to come out with some freedom instead of caution and reserve and care about what people think and all of that. And, everybody's journey through that can look different. That could be 17, it could be 45, and so that's fine. But for me, it was probably right around late high school, just sort of waking up to like, who I am is valuable and I have gifts to give the world. And I don't need to be afraid about what people think. And I can let my own fortitude sort of set the path instead of everyone else telling me who I needed to be and what I needed to be, which was very helpful going into college because college it can be a really disorienting time for people and really fun, but really disorienting. And I feel like I went into college with like a clear picture of who I wanted to become, certainly young and needed a lot of maturity, but like I know who I am and I'm not going to let other people tell me who I am. So that was
Wow.
really great. So yeah, some of it's innate. And then some of it, I think, like, I think I just want to encourage the people who feel like I'm not a leader because I've seen lots of women, especially who have disqualified themselves as leaders because of maybe their environments or families or relationships that have been harmful or things like that that have just sort of shut them down. But that doesn't mean there's not something still in there that can come out and come alive. And so I think I feel passionate about just saying, just because you maybe hasn't been your experience yet doesn't mean it's not in there. Because I had several years of obviously that no one probably would have been like, Maddie's a leader. They'd probably say Maddie's a follower, in those years and does what everybody else wants. So yeah, I think at some point we really can have an awakening to who we are and walk in that path, So kind of
Wow.
both.
As you're sharing this, I had never made that mental connection to seeing my value and being able to use my gifting, right? In this case,
Right.
you saw your value, some event or something woke you up to that, and that allowed that, and this is how I'm envisioning it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That allowed you to really put this passion to use, right? To
Right.
this leadership gifting that you have. What do you think? Number one, can you share what that moment was where you
Mm-hmm.
began to see your value? And B, how others can begin, especially women, begin to see the value that they have to the world and that they do have gifting themselves.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, at 17, just living the classic, probably teenager life and just letting everyone dictate who I was supposed to be, and having a really lost sense of self and value and purpose. And, I think everybody goes through that at some point in their lives. And I think for me, it had led me to just some dark, sad feelings, thoughts that sort of made me desperate. I think at some point we all hit walls of desperation, whether that's emotionally, spiritually, relationally, I just was feeling pretty empty and desperate. And I had enough context within my life and family and friendships. Like I knew who God was and went to church and had some maybe framework or like awareness, but I didn't have any kind of lived experience of like, feel like I've encountered God or like I've had some sort of life-changing transformative experience. And so anyways, 17, I was actually writing an English essay. It's like the wildest story, but I was writing an English essay. And it was a creative writing prompt that they asked me to write. And it said, who has influenced your life? And basically my prompt turned into a very sad, sort of like honest 17-year-old's creative writing essay. Um, which really led to just like sadness, darkness, depressive thoughts. And in the middle of the essay, I had my teacher actually was timed essay. So I was in the class with a bunch of other students, which also I think helped maybe break some of that fear when this happened. But she just said, you have 15 minutes left. You need a conclusion. And I said, okay, what's my conclusion? I don't know what my conclusion is. And like in that moment, I just seriously, I came into school that day feeling like the weight, sometimes if people have gone through depression or depressive seasons, I was feeling like this weight. And when she asked that question, I asked that question in my mind. And right when I asked the question in my mind, I felt like the physical weights of sadness, depression, whatever, just lift off of me. And I just felt like I heard God's voice say, like, I'm the conclusion, it's me and I love you, and you're beautiful to me and I want you free, basically was the experience. And so I'm just bawling my eyes out in English class in my senior year of high school. And I felt like he just gave me the conclusion to the essay, which was, a path out of these dark woods. And so I turned in the essay and I don't know what happened. I can't completely explain it, but something in me, it's like the conversion of all the things just clicked in that moment. And I became really hungry to know my value and my worth apart from what people thought. And I don't even think I needed to learn it. I think I experienced it. And then it was like, I didn't have to go back there, if that makes sense. So yeah, then I think I ended up in the right places with people who were super empowering to me and encouraging in that journey. And I never really went back to that mental space. We have hard times and we have seasons where we're feeling insecure or whatever, but it's different when you live from a place of insecurity and when you're having an insecure moment, and I think that really changed in that moment. And I think my leadership calling and giftings and purposes just started to come out with freedom, I guess, instead of reserve. So
Thank goodness for that
Yeah.
English. Goodness.
English essay.
English essay, right?
Oh no, it's
So,
crazy.
David, were you aware that Maddie was going through this place? Let's call it this. As a
Probably
father, could you see this, or was it just
to a
normal
degree.
growing up?
Obviously, the mom's a little closer to the daughter than the dad is, but and I'm sure my wife knew a lot more than I did, but I knew to a degree. But we went to some camps out in California that I think, as a father-daughter, it's really turned things around for both of us. And that I was, for whatever reason, I was encouraged to do that, probably against what I wanted to do at the time. But we did it. I did it with Maddie for a couple of years, and my other daughter for a couple of years, and Maddie went and worked at the place. So it was very transformative for her and us as a family.
Mhm.
So I think I was prompted in different ways to aid
Mhm.
Maddie without maybe knowing all the details of everything. And I just believe that sometimes those things work out the way they're supposed to work out. And I think
Yep.
this one did. So
Which is kind of what you said, Maddie. You had to go through that to experience it. These are,
Right.
you didn't have to stay in it 40 years. You
Mhm.
just had to go through this season, right?
Yep.
So you can help others in the future as they
Mhm.
discover who they are. You know, we are created in God's image. And if we just remember that, can you imagine the value that
Yeah.
has?
Right.
Right?
Right. And then it can free you to think about who you are and what you're called to do without the fear,
Without the
attached.
fear.
Fear is such a block to, and in the entrepreneurial world, fear it can be such
Yeah.
a block to taking the risk or taking the step, like what my dad was saying
Yeah.
earlier. Just
Mhm.
I know so many people around me who, a lot of women honestly ask me, like, how do you do what you do? Like, I would never take the risk to, like, do this. And I'm just like, well, I mean, why not? Like, there is some risk, but like, what are you putting your treasure in? What are you putting your value in? Is it in what you might lose financially? You have to evaluate those things, of course, but I think a lot of people just are held up in fear of the unknown and, fear of what people think, and it just keeps people from making moves sometimes. But anyway.
So true. So, Maddie, I'm really impressed with Beheld Beauty Collective. For those that aren't familiar with your business model and what services you provide, can you catch people up?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we are a most majority wedding based service business in the beauty industry. So we do hair and makeup services on location. Mostly we have a location that we host people in for what we call bridal trials. So like a preview appointment basically before the wedding day, but then we're mostly out and about at venue spaces. So someone described it in the franchising world. You're kind of like man in a van, but make it beauty and luxury and elevated, but that is kind of how we are. So we do on service beauty services. So, or on location beauty services. And what it looks like for us, we've got 20, now I think 23 stylists and makeup artists on our team so on any given Saturday, you could essentially be doing 23 weddings if that's how many people you have. So over the year, you said this already, but there's, over 1,000 brides and then all of their bridal parties that are inquiring with us. And we service them in Lexington, Louisville, and Cincinnati right now. So mostly it's like operations wise, we hold the operations and then our stylists are sent out on location to perform the services. We also do monthly team trainings to keep up with trends and quality control and all of that. That's actually a huge part of our company. And I think why we've been successful, because there's other people, no franchise companies as far as we know, but there are other like sort of team models out there, but a lot of them will just 1099 contract some random person that they've connected with and never trained and never, curated their craft. And for us, all of our stylists work exclusively with us and have been trained by us. So we really hold tightly the like craft itself, that we're really giving people the services that they're paying for. And there's some creative interpretation as artists, but there's standards that we hold within the company that I think have caused us to be pretty successful, along with, in hiring the right type of people who can really host the day well and be a good face for the bride to in a place of peace, and who can steward the environment well on a wedding morning takes a little bit of EQ. So we train all those things really and just help equip people to give services on wedding days.
Oh my gosh, that is a day that requires a lot of EQ,
It
a lot
is.
of emotional and social intelligence,
It is.
no doubt. So this model that you've created, we're replicating that model through franchisees now. David, tell me more about that process of helping a franchisee replicate this model.
Yeah, it really fits in what Maddie talked about earlier, empowering women. Women, obviously, very smart, great energy, very creative, but may not have the entrepreneurial background to run a business. So what I love about franchising, it gives you those tools and a model that if you follow the model, your likelihood of success goes way up. I mean, most businesses go out of business in 5 years, but if you're in a franchise model, it's 60, 70, 80% likely success. So I love that. So we take that away from the business owner from having to worry about, and they do what they're good at: creativity, serving their customer, learning a business, and then we fill in the backroom stuff. So that's what I love about entrepreneurial franchise business is it takes care of the stuff that we may not be very good at it. So we find people with passion and talent, and then we give them the operation capability to run that business without having to run the business. And if we put them in there running the business and they're not good at it, they're not going to be successful. So we empower them and give them the ability. So I love the model, and not everything can be franchised, but I think this one works very well because it is a model. Step one, step two, step three, step four. You follow these steps, we can help you be successful. Some businesses can't be that way. So I really love that. And it's going to be a very low cost operation. So it lets a lot of people have the opportunity as well. So it fits all the things that as a business owner, I love. And as a coach, when I've seen companies, it's got all the facets that you can build a successful business around. So.
It's interesting as you're sharing this, David, because I'm getting this picture of Maddie being this kite, right? This idea person, this visionary, this passion, this in leadership, and then you being the string that keeps the kite flying and flying high through the operational side and the systems and the coaching and making sure Maddie has what she needs to be successful, and our franchisees having it also. So it's a great combination, the two of you and how you're working together. That's
one more thing. In our coaching, we spend a lot of time making people focus on their strengths. You always hear about eliminating your weaknesses and get rid of your weaknesses. Most of the time, you can't get rid of your weaknesses. You might improve on them, but you can't. So why not spend the effort getting better at your strengths? So that's what the franchise model did. We find the right people that are good at the model. They play to their strength, and we'll fill in all the other stuff. So that play to your strength, it really lets you play to your strength. Kind of a motto I like to use.
Beautiful. Okay, I got a couple more questions, but we're coming on top of the hour. So I'm very curious, Maddie, about this word collective. You deliberately chose that word as part of what you're doing, Beheld Beauty Collective. Tell me more about why that word collective is so important to you.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me, by the way? We had another little unstable moment. Okay, great. It said it popped up and said it was unstable. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Of
Because
course.
my computer was freezing.
We noticed your face was freezing, so let
I
me ask
know.
you again. So, Beheld Beauty Collective, I find that word collective fascinating. Tell me more why you chose that word and how it just lives and breathes within your organization.
Yes. So I love the word collective for lots of reasons, but one of them, is it frozen again?
No,
Okay.
you're good.
Yeah, sorry, sorry. We're having technical difficulties over here. Yeah, so I love the word collective for lots of reasons. One is that a collective assumes that we support each other. You know, it's not totally hierarchical. There's going to be some hierarchy. Not all hierarchy is bad. But I do think the collective term, like collaborative leadership, feels like something that is how I function in my own leadership, and something that I think has caused our business to be more successful because we're not just dictating, like we're really collaboratively hearing, learning, testing, and improving who we are and what we are. And I think that's one of the benefits with that as we decided to franchise. I really loved that about franchising, is that these franchisees are owners, you know, they have stake in the game. And so this is not like, you know, a corporate owned company in the same way. It allows people to belong to a collective of like-minded leaders. So that word is really intentional. I also love in collective that, so it assumes, you know, that there's collaboration. It also assumes that we're not alone. You know, sometimes you can get on your island, especially entrepreneurs can get on their islands and just be grinding it out and nobody knows and nobody cares. But to have a support system like what we're going to have at the Franchise Support Center is going to be so helpful. Like I just think about my early years and I was just like, you know, shooting darts in the dark sort of and seeing what was going to work, because no one was really building teams like I was in my area. And I was definitely learning on my own through trial and error and business strategies. So I really love that it also assumes a lot of support, you know, that you're not doing it alone, and that this will, you know, we want to ensure to the best of our abilities, as long as we can collaborate together and partner together and we're receiving the same back in the same direction, that we want to see these people be successful. We want to see them build amazing businesses that create legacies in their families and in maybe their daughters, you know? And it's so funny. My daughter's 4 years old, and Austin and I have been asking her, what do you think you want to do when you get older? And I'm telling you, there's not like a girly bone in her body. She likes superheroes and all kinds of stuff. I love it. It's amazing. But when we ask her the question, she says, I want to do hair like mommy, you know?
Oh,
And I know that's just right now, but there's this sort of thing in me that's like, man, there's even a way that if this becomes successful for someone, that this can be a legacy for their daughters, you know, as they're growing up and exploring their passions, can they take over businesses for their moms one day? And so I don't know. I love the idea that it's a supportive word as well.
I think what it's going to do, guys, is truly create a consistent culture. That word
Right.
collective and beheld, obviously, is going to create this incredible culture, and the systems and the processes and the reward system, everything will come around that
Yep.
to create that collaboration. You're not alone. We're doing this together. I believe in you. We believe in you. Attitude or culture is the only word I'm coming up
Mm-hmm.
with that you're creating. I could chat with you guys all day. I'm excited about where Beheld Beauty Collective is going. I love this partnership that you've created and the support system you have around you. The two of you just mesh really well in terms of how you work together. So I'm expecting big things out of you. So before we go, I have one final question. Look out in the future, 20 years from now. What is your life like, Maddie? And David, how do you see Maddie's life? And where do you see Beheld Beauty Collective?
Mhm. It's a great question. Uh,
Are
I
you the
mean,
mayor of Cincinnati?
right. I mean,
No, it was
probably, yeah. No, I think I just, in some ways this feels like a massive step, and in some ways it feels like something I've been doing for a long time. And so I kind of, in some ways, hope that I'm still doing this, maybe at a different scale or pace, or maybe not pace, but in a different format or way. But you know, speaking and teaching and doing different things like this is kind of part of my life and other areas of leadership that I hold. Creating educational videos. These are all things that I feel comfortable doing. But I think for the franchise company, I just want to see truly I just envision like a sea of women leading, owning, operating their own companies that are successful. That one of the things we haven't even mentioned that I love about this is it actually is an amazing job to have for women that want to be flexible, to be able to be still at home with kids and, run a company. Because if they had their kids in school a couple days a week and then they could get this, operations work done during those hours, and then they just go out on Saturday mornings. And oftentimes, spouses, partners can be watching the kids and they can go do what they love and they can still make income for their family and see their family succeed and soar. So I just really imagine that's been such a gift to me, and now we're just going to replicate what we've built. And, right now we have 23 stylists on our team. I'd say half of them are moms. So I'm just imagining lots of women being able to support their families, do what they love in their craft, and feel like they're in a thrive zone. If I could help women do that, I would feel like, there's a legacy being left that I would want for women. So I could see it going a lot of ways, but I do imagine, I hope we're very successful and we have franchises all over the country and women leading businesses and brides and clients being served with excellence. And that we've really created a culture and a brand that's worthy of emulating, So
exactly. Beautiful. So a sea of women,
mhm.
collective of women, and possibly some men too that will
Yeah.
be attracted to this business, that own their own businesses, collaborate with one another, uh, hold each other up, and encourage one another. I think that's a beautiful vision.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful vision. All right. David, any final words from you? And I want to make sure you also give us a way to get hold of you guys for folks interested.
Okay.
Great.
No, this just really fits everything I believe in. I believe everyone has a purpose. They need to spend some time working on finding that purpose. I think Maddie is in her purpose right now. So I feel totally confident in the future of Beheld Beauty Collective, and it's going in the right path. So I'm really looking the next 20 years. I hope I'm still around to see it, but
You will
if
be.
I'm not, I know we'll have left something of real value that the world can appreciate. So.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Thank you both for making time today. Really appreciate it. I'm walking away with a bunch of takeaways, including the one where we really need to see our value. And it seems like value and purpose, at least that's a connection I'm making, go hand in glove. And then along with that, the gifting that we get from God to fulfill that purpose. But I hadn't put that piece together of seeing our value. And that allows us to step into our calling, right? Step in.
Right.
So that's a huge takeaway, guys. I really, really appreciate that. And for those of you listening, make sure to like, comment, and of course, share Maddie and David's interview today. And we'll see you next week on another episode of the Franchise Woman Podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged.
Thank you.